Down this lonely stretch of East Texas back road lies a little bit of history that changed the course of East Texas forever. Now, everyone associates Texas with cowboys and ranches and music and, of course, oil. Oil was discovered in East Texas on what became the largest oil field in the world at that time. And it all started just a few feet from where I'm standing right now at the Daisy Bradford No. 3, where it all started for the East Texas oil field. Today, we're exploring the East Texas oil field here on Expedition Texas.
Texas is full of lost history, from lost cemeteries to abandoned buildings, from the infamous to the obscure. Hitch a ride and travel across the Lone Star State, looking for hints of Texas' colorful past, our lost history. This is Expedition Texas, and we're gonna find it.
The oil boom in East Texas happened on a lot of fronts. Discoveries in Van, Gladewater, and other locations solidified a place for those cities in the East Texas economy for decades to come. But there was no discovery more significant than the well that came in near Kilgore, Texas, when a man known as Dad Joiner took a risk on a piece of land leased from a woman named Daisy Bradford. And the rest is history. That history is preserved in its most complete and robust form at the East Texas Oil Museum in Kilgore, where we met up with Museum Director Olivia Moore. Hey, Olivia.
Hey, how are ya?
Good. So we're here at the East Texas Oil Museum, and already I've just barely gotten into the place, and there's so much to see.
Oh, absolutely. We have our life-size recreation of a town booming in oil.
And life-size because they're real vehicles in here, I guess from the period, right?
Absolutely. We have a plethora of antiques and collectibles. All were of the period, and most of them were donated by the community here of East Texas.
This oil boom in East Texas brought about some big changes. Kind of walk us through that.
Oh, absolutely. Before 1930, this was farming communities, very rural, piney woods of East Texas. And then on October 3rd, 1930, that changed forever.
It kind of makes you think of like the gold rush out west. I mean, everybody came, right?
Everybody came. The city of Kilgore went from approximately about 500 people before the boom to over 8,000 practically overnight.
And I understand there's also a life-size boomtown here in the museum.
It is life-size. You get to walk in all of the stores.
Can you show us that?
Now, when we step through this door, it's going to be like stepping back in time. Are you ready, Bob?
Sure. Oh, wow.
Now, Bob, this is the ARP General Store. This would have been what a store would look like in the 1930s here in East Texas.
So ARP, I mean, we're in Kilgore now, so tell me, how much of East Texas was involved in this thing?
Well, the field itself, once it was discovered, it started with the Daisy Bradford No. 3 near Joinerville, and then it went up to Kilgore with the second well, and the third well was in East Mountain, which is just north of Longview.
Yeah.
Once the field itself, the edges were solidified, they realized it was 45 miles north to south and between 5 and 12 miles wide east to west. And at time of discovery, it was the world's largest oil field.
Oh my gosh.
This is what the East Texas field looks like underground. On the surface, during the boom, we had all of these oil derricks. There was over 28,000 active wells in the field at the height.
Look at all these things. That is unbelievable how many of them there were all over East Texas.
They were everywhere. And then, of course, they had to drill down through each one of these layers. The geological formation is called a pinch-out trap, and this was the first pinch-out trap that was found. And that's why the earlier major oil companies, when they came in the 1920s and drilled, didn't have success, is they were looking for the wrong kind of a field. But you can see how far down they had to get into the earth to get to that oil layer.
So that's oil there. That would be the oil.
That is the oil. It's about 3,600 feet down there.
Whoa. 1,100 derricks just in downtown Kilgore?
Yes, just in downtown Kilgore.
I thought this was a lot. in East Texas learning about the impact of the oil boom there. We've stopped by the East Texas Oil Museum to visit with Olivia Moore about how the museum keeps the story of the oil boom alive for today's generation. So what do these big wagons, it looks like they're in mud, what does all this represent?
Well, this is what a street in East Texas would have looked like. This right here is a farmer who lost his farm to the bank due to the Dust Bowl.
Okay.
And of course the muddy streets, we didn't have the infrastructure for those people that flooded East Texas. As I said earlier, Kilgore had a massive amount of folks. 12,000 people ended up living here at the height of the boom. And of course we have work trucks bringing in oil equipment out to the well sites.
So the streets really look like this?
They did. I can actually show you a picture where it's almost identical. So Bob, this is what it would have looked like in the 1930s on a drill rig.
Who are these guys?
This is Bert and Ernie.
Oh, I like that.
And what they are doing here is breaking a joint, which of course you need more pipe to go down to get to the oil, or less pipe to change out the drill bit to go back to get further down closer to the oil. So that's what they're doing here, is they're breaking the joint between the two pieces of pipe to either add or take away additional pipe. And then as we come around, we see the merchant wagon, which is another option for commerce.
Yes.
But the thing that you cannot miss and will prepare you for the rest of your exploration today is our movie theater.
A movie theater? What, is there a movie showing in here?
There is. It's a 22-minute multimedia presentation that will get you all of the info you need to know.
Yeah, so we've got a lot to see in the East Texas oil field, so we're going to need 2 tickets, please, ma'am.
Come on, Bob.
Just around the corner from the East Texas Oil Museum in downtown Kilgore lies a display that towers over even the tallest buildings in town. Known as the world's richest acre, Chip Hale is with the Kilgore Historical Preservation Foundation. Hey man, so here we are at the world's richest acre.
Right, the world's richest acre.
Here in Kilgore, Texas, and kind of where everything started with the oil field in East Texas. Take me through and tell me about this place, man.
Well, in 1987, the Kilgore Historic Preservation Foundation decided they wanted to create these replica derricks to honor the oil boom from 1930, whenever there were 1,100 oil derricks in downtown Kilgore.
Wait a minute, 1,100 derricks just in downtown Kilgore?
Yes, just in downtown Kilgore.
I thought this was a lot.
Yeah, this is, well, this is a lot. It's a lot of upkeep for KHPF. In 1930, when the boom hit, Kilgore's population went from 700 to about 12,000.
Wow.
And what really seems like overnight, it was probably over the course of a couple of months. But no, Kilgore quickly, with that population, with the people that became here to work in the oil industry, Kilgore found itself kind of in the middle of what would have become, I believe it was Neville Chamberlain said, the Allies flowed to victory on a sea of Texas oil. A lot of that oil came from here in Kilgore.
Next up, Joinerville, to learn about one of many towns that sprang to life during the East Texas oil boom.
Of course, you know, Dad Joiner struck oil, third strike, created the oil boom that went through East Texas. Because it was the first strike, everybody congregated here in Joinerville. So overnight, it became a metropolis. You know, people came from all over the United States. And with that came businesses, industry. School was not capable of housing all the children that came. They went to a 4-room schoolhouse. There were also other schools in the area that were small community, little county schools. They all had to merge. So in 1932, they completed the Gaston High School building. The town of Joinerville, which was a ghost town, just a piece of land, became a city and connected to Turnertown. So between the two areas, maybe a 7-8 mile radius, you had like hotels, doctor's offices, gas stations, about 10 grocery stores, beauty shops, barber shops, pipe supply companies, industry of every type, Stroud Brothers Construction, you know, everything that you would need for the oil field.
This school building you see here, and look at the difference the little oil makes. We're East Texas learning about the oil boom that transformed the towns there. Now we're headed to Joinerville to tour the Gaston Museum and learn about a small town that became a boom town thanks to the East Texas oil discovery.
Hey, Bob, how are you?
Good to see you. So, saw so many cool things coming into Joinerville here today, and of course
Good.
this Gaston Museum is right here where you can show us around some of the history of the oil boom and how it affected this area, right?
Absolutely.
All right, let's take a little tour of the museum first, then we're going to go find some lost history.
Okay, before we do anything else, I'm going to show you a little bit about a movie that was made here.
A movie?
A movie called Strike It Rich.
Wow, I did not know that you guys were so famous out here.
We are famous. Rod Cameron and Benita Granville came and filmed a movie talking about the discovery of oil, Dad Joiner and Daisy Bradford. It was filmed here around the community, and we had a lot of local extras. The funny story about that is that this little man here was about 5'4".
Okay.
Rod Cameron was about 6-something.
Wow, look at that guy.
He had to climb the derrick. But the night before, rumor has it he had a little too much enjoyment and had a hangover.
Oh, no.
So he couldn't climb the derrick, or wouldn't climb the derrick.
Okay.
So Pine Knot Morrow put on clothes to similarly match Rod Cameron. They sent him up the derrick, filmed it, so that he actually did the shot.
So he was the stunt double for this guy who's like got a few feet on him.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, Bob, so we're gonna come into the community room. The community room is business, family life, and worship.
Is this the post office?
That's the post office. And we just received this post office just a week ago.
Really?
We are so proud to have this relic.
And what's through here?
Okay, now you're entering in some of the relics from the old school. This is truly part of Gaston. Everything that you see to the right came from the home economics cottage. So all of the displays on this side of the room came from that building or from the White's snack shop.
Well, you mentioned White's snack shop, and right over here I see sort of you mocked up the entrance to the building, and this is a building that still stands, right?
Absolutely. It's on our property, but because of the age of the building, it is one of those things that we've had to make the decision to pick and choose. So we've had to choose to let the snack shop go. However, the heart of the snack shop we've kept. So as you walk through the screen door that came from the snack shop.
Okay, this was original.
This is original, and you're gonna go into the snack shop to see what actually was there.
Okay, cool, let's do.
This is the original snack shop. Minor alterations, but everything in here is actually from the building. We have photographs on the wall that will validate that these are the booths, the round chairs, the table and chairs you can see in the photograph. Everything here was up there. We actually recreated this. There was another board on that snack shop bar right there, but we took the front board off to make it fit in that area better, and we're saving it because we're going to mount a section of it on the wall that will say, is one of these yours? It's the gum underneath the bottom of the board. And these are actually the booths that came out of the snack shop. You can see in the picture the same structure and everything that was there. So we brought it in here, and we can actually seat 12 to 14 people in this room comfortably to come in for Sunday socials or small gatherings, small reunions for some of the school's alumni, and our board meeting every month. Okay, so now we're gonna go to school.
Okay.
The biggest thing about this community that has outlived and endured everything is the Gaston School. This is the section that indicates the old school, the bell, the paddles, the chalkboard, 4-room schoolhouse.
I would like to point out the difference in this school building you see here, the little schoolhouse, and what it actually became. And look at the difference a little oil makes. One look at the beautiful landscape in and around Mount Vernon, Texas, and a quick drive through downtown is enough to make you want to stay a while. That's the reason Mount Vernon is this week's Expedition Texas Spotlight City.
Mount Vernon as a community began getting established in the 1830s, 1840s. This was a really good resource for fresh, clean water. There were lots of springs and wells around here, and there is the Cherokee Trace and the Comanche Trail, and they intersect very close to here. So Anglo travelers would come through this area, and a lot of them decided to stay just because the resources were so plentiful.
As the county seat of Franklin County, Mount Vernon's downtown centers around their beautiful courthouse. Completed in 1912, it replaced the original courthouse in what is now the downtown plaza. Mount Vernon was later home to some folks who became pretty well known.
Of course, Don Meredith is from Mount Vernon, Texas. Dandy Don, he was a Dallas Cowboys quarterback. We maintain a museum downtown, the Fire Station Museum, with a huge exhibit dedicated to Dandy Don. Definitely our hometown hero.
And Mount Vernon was also home to a literal giant of the Civil War.
Colonel Thruston, the tallest man from the Civil War, was from Franklin County, and we maintain his homestead here.
Mount Vernon's history lives on in museums and along its streets. Here's City Administrator Craig Lindholm.
The attraction to Mount Vernon is that it's a great balance of the historic charm with a belief that we're a progressive city, that we want to attract young people, that we want to become a place for families. You know, to get away from the large cities that still have the amenities, some of the amenities that you have in large cities, to have a quality of life. And that's what Mount Vernon is to me.
A city with stories to tell that's not afraid to write new ones. That's why Mount Vernon is this week's Spotlight City. We're in East Texas learning about the impact of the oil boom there. The Gaston Museum contains hundreds of photos and artifacts from the area.
Okay, so that wraps up the end of the internal tour.
Yeah, so we've kind of made our way through the Gaston Museum here, but I'm very curious about the places that still exist that are here within the 7-mile radius you talked about. And some of these buildings, like you have artifacts in here from those, and I'm looking out the window right now and see one of them. Can we look at some of these old buildings?
Absolutely. We have the gas station and the tent house that we can look at. We can go inside the tent house and you can see how they actually lived.
Let's go.
Okay.
Following you.
Okay, Bob, so we're going to go up here and give you a little idea of what the gas station was, the snack shop, and the house that the Whites lived in. And as we round the corner, we have a memorial to Truman and Billy White, who donated all the property in the buildings to the museum. So now we're going to round the corner to the gas station.
Self-service.
Self-service. Mr. White used to sit on his front porch. He had a metal box out front. Customers would come up and he'd say, "Put your money in the tank or in the box, fill your car up," and he would watch them. You want to see the snack shop? The snack.
The stuff from the snack shop is in the museum. What's left in here?
Actually, just a lot of odds and end relics and junk. It's in total disarray, but you can walk in and at least get a feel for what, if you have an imagination, what was here. Okay, welcome to the snack shop, or what's left of the snack shop.
Wow. I love this. I love the old light fixtures in here. And I guess, is this where the counter
That is the section of counter that we pulled off to put inside the exhibit building to commemorate where the visitors in the community, the business people, came to sit and have their lunch. So, and then that's the kitchen. The kitchen was the hub of the snack shop. Mr. and Mrs. White stayed in this room 90% of the time that the doors were open. Stoves were on the right side, counter on the left with the sink, and high school kids would come and work to wash dishes constantly so they could keep up.
All right, so I have a question.
Okay.
You keep referring to this as the tent house.
Absolutely.
Why?
This is a tent house because as I open the door, you're going to see the shape of the roof looks like a potential canvas tent. They would build the walls, put a canvas over the top so that they could raise it up on the sides for the air to flow through.
Oh, I see it. Wow. So there's canvas under this?
There was canvas under this. They put in this wallpaper looking construction and then roofed over the top with wood and shingles. And they lived in this until about 1960 something.
Who lived here?
The Whites, Billy and Sidney White, who owned the snack shop, the gas station, and donated this whole property to the museum.
Unfortunately, due to a lack of funding, the museum recently closed, but efforts are being made to bring the museum to a virtual audience. More information can be found at gastonmuseum.org. East Texas' mighty oil boom changed the shape of many cities in the region. Great developments in how oil was retrieved, stored, and transported came from this booming time in East Texas. Towns grew, and with that, so did their schools. Next time, one of the towns that benefited from those natural resources also ended up seeing tragedy as a result of the very thing that brought such promise. Next week, we continue our story on the East Texas oil field by learning about the New London school explosion and how lessons learned paved the way for innovations in natural gas storage and delivery. Down the road, there's another lost legend waiting to be explored, and on Expedition Texas, we're going to find it.